couple of interesting programs, we could not so far venture into the realm of serious academic discussion. We are happy that this year's academic deliberations begin with a diverse and fresh discipline such as disability studies, which views disability in the context of culture, society, and politics rather than through the lens of medicine or psychology. Drawing heavily from feminist and post-colonial theories, disability studies is a relatively new field that tries to analyze how cultures understand and react to bodies that are perceived to be abnormal in some way. We are extremely delighted to have as our resource person Ms. Sharada Devi, a multifaceted personality of enviable scholarship. She is a freelance writer, translator, research scholar, and singer, all rolled into one. She is the right person to explore and lay bare the possibilities of this area because she herself has been through the experience of living with a disability. We hope that today's session will be truly enlightening and enriching for all of us. I would also like to applaud the efforts taken by Dr. Jem Cherian in making this event happen. Let this be the beginning of another fruitful academic year. Once again, I thank you all for your interest in this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It is a great honor for our department to have Ms. Sharada Devi V as our chief guest, who is a researcher, writer, and disability rights activist. We are very grateful to you for accepting our invitation and becoming the chief guest of today's event. Now, I would like to call upon Ms. Sharada Devi V to enlighten us with your words.
Thank you, Anju. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, good afternoon, one and all. First, I would like to convey my thanks to St. Aloysius College, Edatua, for taking the initiative to organize this lecture as part of the Disability Pride Month observance. And thanks to the college principal, Professor Georgie Joseph, head of the English department, Dr. Nito Mary Tommy, coordinator of this event, Dr. Jem Cherian, who contacted me and invited me to deliver this lecture. And thanks to all others who are associated with the college, who are part of the college. Thank you all. And thanks to all people who have gathered on this online platform to listen. Okay, so thanks to all people who have gathered here on this online platform to listen to my words. Thank you all. So, and thanks, Jem ma'am and Nito ma'am for those wonderful words. Thank you. So, like both of you said, July is observed as the Disability Pride Month. So, I hope most of you will be familiar with the term queer pride. We are all familiar with the observance of June as LGBTIQA plus Pride Month, or we also call it as the Queer Pride Month. So that is almost well known all over the world. But compared to that, Disability Pride Month, or the concept of disability pride, is not so popular in India, and especially in Kerala. In the northern parts, I have some friends who are continuously writing and talking about this concept of Disability Pride Month. So I hope in the northern parts some kind of awareness is there now. But in Kerala, as far as I know, from my experience, And from my interactions with my friends and other people, both non-disabled and disabled people, what I understood is that in Kerala, this is not a popular concept. It's not as a well-known concept compared to queer pride movements. So there is a need to make people aware of uh, this concept of Disability Pride Month and why we should observe July as the Disability Pride Month. It's a matter of great significance. So my lecture is on the relevance of Disability Pride Month and also about the need to regard disability as diversity. So my lecture is divided into two parts, can be divided into two parts. The first part will deal with the history of Disability Pride Month observation, why we observe July as Disability Pride Month, the historical significance, and so on. And in the second part, I will share with you some basic ideas regarding disability and why we should regard disability as diversity. So it's not a completely academic kind of lecture because these areas related to marginalized communities like disability studies, queer studies, etc. These fields should not be fully academic. They should not remain as wholly academic one. We have to take into consideration the lived experiences of the people belonging to those marginalized communities as well. So my lecture will be a mix of both academic elements as well as lived experiences of persons with disabilities. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, like I said, this month, July, is observed as the Disability Pride Month. So, we all know the meaning of pride, right? We feel very happy and positive about something that we have. We take pride in our achievements, in our personality, identity, so many things. So, and we also know what is meant by queer pride. That is people belonging to sexual and gender minorities. Those heterosexual categories, they take pride in their own identities. So, disability pride refers to the important and seeing it as a diverse one. If we take two individuals, we cannot compare both those individuals. They will be unique in their own ways. Their bodies will be different in many ways. Their thinking capacities will be different. Their other abilities will be different. So on the whole, each person will be unique. So the term disability pride refers to that uniqueness in every individual that protects the rights of persons with disabilities. There, that is known as the Americans with Disabilities Act, short form ADA. So this act was passed in July many years back. Strictly speaking, it was on July 26, 1990. It was the day when the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed in America to prohibit discrimination against persons with disabilities. So, so in memory of that historic day, July every year is now observed as the Disability Pride Month. So the first Disability Pride event was held in Boston in July that year. That is after the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed on July 26, 1990. Immediately after that, in Boston, the first Disability Pride event was conducted. And slowly, such events came to be organized in other parts of the country, other states of the United States of America. And then, since then, Disability Pride celebrations have been taking place in other parts of the world also. That is, initially, this idea of Disability Pride Month started in the USA, but slowly it spread to other countries, like, for example, Australia, Canada, etc. Now, many countries in the world are observing July as Disability Pride Month. So now this idea is not limited to America alone. In those countries also, there is no official recognition by the governments. The governments have not made it official, but people, disabled people and their allies are observing July as Disability Pride Month. So this month, like I said earlier, it's a time to acknowledge and celebrate each individual's uniqueness. And this is a time to acknowledge and celebrate how disability is a natural part of human diversity. I earlier mentioned that human race is diverse. So disability is only a natural part of that human diversity. So this month is a time that and to acknowledge and celebrate that idea. And then people with disabilities can be proud of their abilities. So if disabled people should feel proud about their abilities, then first society will have to understand what is actually disability. So if society views disability in a negative, now in the slide, you can see a picture. This is a Disability Pride flag. Actually, this is a new one. Earlier, there was another flag with lightning shapes. Lightning bolts shape were used in the old flag, but that flag was withdrawn recently because those images used to trigger people with neurodivergent issues. That resulted in seizures, epileptic seizures and all. So that flag was withdrawn. So the new flag for Disability Pride Month is this one. And this flag was designed by a woman with a disability named Anne Magill. So Anne Magill designed the Disability Pride flag. And here you can see many colors. There are different colors used in this flag. So in the background, there is the black color. And then there are different lines with different colors, like green on the, starting with the green, then blue, white, yellow, and red. So each of these colors represents some kind of meaning. So we will look into that. So the black color, the black background, the flag represents the disabled people who have lost their lives, not only as a result of their illnesses, but also as a result of negligence from authorities, suicide, and eugenics. So if you have any doubt about what is actually eugenics, I will explain in the discussion session because there's a lot to talk about that. So eugenics, suicide, then negligence from authorities, illnesses. Due to these reasons, a lot of disabled people have lost their lives. So the black background in this flag represents those disabled people. And then you can see different colors here. So each color represents a particular aspect of disability or impairment. Let's look at them one by one. So red color denotes physical disabilities. Yellow color represents cognitive and intellectual disabilities. For example, ADHD, dyslexia, Down syndrome, and many more cognitive and intellectual conditions are there. So these conditions are denoted by the color yellow. Then white color indicates disabilities that are invisible and diagnosed. There are many disabilities or conditions that are invisible to us, that we cannot find physically. They are not physically manifested. They are invisible. And there are many other conditions that are still undiagnosed. So science has to develop more and more to find more about such undiagnosed conditions. So all these disabilities or conditions are indicated by the color white. Then blue. Blue color represents mental illness. And finally, green color denotes sensory perception issues. So these are the five categories denoted, indicated in the disability pride flag. So I hope you understood that. So I earlier mentioned that we are observing July as the Disability Pride Month because it's in memory of the day when the ADA was passed. So some of you might be wondering why we should observe July as Disability Pride Month, because ADA is an act for people with disabilities in America. So why should other countries observe July as Disability Pride Month? So this will be a doubt in the minds of some of you. In fact, I also had that doubt when I also came to know about Disability Pride Month. But there is a significance. The significance is that the ADA, or the Americans with Disabilities Act, is the world's first major piece of national legislation to systematically address the discriminatory treatment, barriers, and difficulties faced by people with disabilities. So before that day, before the implementation of ADA, there was no other act in the world to address the issues of people with disabilities in a legal manner. So this is the world's first act that came to be implemented for people with disabilities. And then other countries in the world quickly joined the movement, and they also started to make their own acts. They also started to formulate their own legal provisions for people with disabilities in their countries. So they took the principles from ADA as models for that. So following the model of the ADA, the other countries formulated principles similar to those which we can find in the ADA. And shortly after the ADA was implemented, people with disabilities and governments around the world began meeting and discussing about an international treaty. So what was the relevance of this international treaty? So these people, people with disabilities and governments around the world, they thought that an international treaty is necessary to make the countries um, uh, uh, responsible towards their people, towards persons with disabilities in those countries. So this international treaty would require all the countries in the world to protect the rights of persons with disabilities. So several meetings and discussions happened after the implementation of the ADA, and these discussions culminated in the formulation of a disability treaty. And this disability treaty is known as the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, short for UNCRPD. So this is an international treaty that was formulated for protecting and safeguarding the rights of persons with disabilities, and it came into being in 2006. And this convention is based on the ADA. So in ADA, we can find principles related to inclusiveness and non-discrimination. So the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities is based on these principles of the ADA. So in other words, we can say that the ADA was a great source of inspiration for the UNCRPD. So almost all the countries in the world have signed this convention or treaty, including our country, India. India signed and ratified the UNCRPD in 2007. So the UNCRPD came into force in 2006, and in the next year, India signed it. So, and many other countries have also signed the convention. So, all the countries that signed this convention have the obligation to safeguard their persons with disabilities. So, from this, I hope you have understood why ADA is significant. So, ADA is significant not just for people with disabilities in America, but it is significant for people with disabilities all over the world, because it paved way for the development of more legal provisions in different parts of the world. So it has a great significance for all countries in the world, not just for America. One minute. Okay. So this I hope you can see the picture in my slide. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this This is the picture. This picture shows the then US President George W. Bush signing the ADA. So just near him, there is a man. You can see he's wearing a hat on his head. So he's sitting in a wheelchair. A wheelchair can be seen a little. It's a little visible, not a full visible. But he's sitting in a wheelchair wearing a hat on his head. So his name is Justin Whitlock Jr. So he was an American disability rights advocate, and he's widely known as the father of the ADA, the father of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Why he is called so? In 1981, President Ronald Reagan appointed Justin Whitlock Dart Jr. as the vice chairman of the National Council on Disability. And this National Council on Disability drafted a national policy on equal rights for disabled people. So DART played a major role in preparing that draft of national policy on equal rights for disabled people in America. And this draft of national policy later became the foundation of the Americans with Disabilities Act. So this happened in 1981, 9 years before the ADA came into existence. ADA came into existence in 1990. So this happened in 1981. So you can see how important was the role of Justin Whitlock Dart Jr. In the formulation of the ADA. So that's why we can find him sitting next to President George W. Bush, who is signing the act. So we all should remember his name, Justin Whitlock Dart Jr. There were actually many other disability rights activists who played key roles in formulating the ADA, but this man's name is very significant because he's known as the father of the ADA. So this is the first part of my lecture. So I hope now you got an idea about what is Disability Pride Month and why we are observing that and what is the relevance of that for people in India and all over the world. So this is the first part. Then I am slowly moving to the second and last part of my lecture, that is regarding disability, the concept of disability and why we should regard disability as a diversity. So in the beginning, Jem ma'am had mentioned that gender is a social construction. It's a construction of society. We are all familiar with that. And I hope all of you students already that gender is a social construct. Similarly, disability is also a construction or creation or product of society. Why? How disability is created by society? Let's look at that. There is actually a difference between disability and impairment. In Malayalam, there is a word, you are all familiar with that, Vaikalyam. And people who have Vaikalyam are called in Malayalam, where earlier called in Malayalam as Vikalanga. But now that word is not much used. But I often come across that word on social media, and also I hear some people using that word, but it's not much popular now. So Vaikalyam, the English word for Vaikalyam is impairment. So Vaikalyam, we all know what is Vaikalyam. it's some kind of differences in body and mind. So impairment is that. Impairment is a medical condition. So it refers to physical or mental or intellectual differences in a person. So a person with impairment need not be a disabled person. Impairment is only a part of disability. So just remember that impairment and disability are two different concepts. വൈകല്യം എന്ന് നമ്മൾ മലയാളത്തിൽ പറയുന്നതും what we say in English disability, ഇത് രണ്ടും they are two entirely different concepts. But impairment is a part of disability. I will explain how. In my case, I am a person with a physical impairment. I have a mobility issue and I'm a wheelchair user. So if I'm saying that I'm a person with a physical impairment or I'm a physically impaired person, that means that I'm referring to my physical difficulties. So there I do not refer to the condition of being disabled. So when will I become disabled? I become disabled by society. A person with an impairment becomes disabled by society that does not provide friendly environments with